please help me welcome Karim Darwish. And Mr. Ali Farag. Thank you guys so much for joining. Please, each of you have a microphone. I will let you enjoy this fireside chat with all three of these amazing legends.
Good morning, everyone. I'm sure all of you are feeling so sad to see me here again. But I'm very happy to be seeing Ali after he has gone past the sunset. I can't believe he's done that, but here we are. And Karim, who I've played a lot when I was growing up. For all of you who don't know, the first 2 times I played him, I lost in 21 minutes and 23 minutes. I didn't know where the ball was going. And then I decided, right, I'm not going to hit anything to his forehand. It was like a conditioned game against Karim Darwish. But thank you, gentlemen. Thank you for making time. Just to start off, easy, simple question. I know Ali's going to be very diplomatic with it, and Karim, I'm hoping that he'll be a little bit more forthright. You've both been world number 1. What does that mean to both of you all personally, as well as coming from Egypt, following on from people like Amr Shabana, who obviously was the first world number 1 from Egypt? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
Saraf, when I retired in 2014, I was in the top 10 when I retired in 2014. I took my job at Wydegla to run the academy there and to be the sports director at Wydegla. And I was focusing on the development of the players, and I didn't have the coaching mind, or I didn't want to coach. It wasn't in my DNA, as I say. So after Ali approached me to switch from Hill's club to Wydegla club, like me and Ali and his brother Wael were very, very good friends. And Wael, his older brother, is my best friend since a long time, and Ali was the little kid who used to come and watch us play, and he's always asking us like million questions in 10 minutes. He wanted to know everything about life, about the game, and we were very, very close friends before he moved to Wydegla. And I think in the year of 2017, I think he was playing at the club and was already in the top 10. And he approached me and he told me, "What do you think if I move to Wydegla?
That's not what happened.
Would you coach me?" Then it was a big question for me, because I've never coached any player before Ali, and it was kind of a challenge to accept that. And I really accepted it all of a sudden, because I knew Ali how good he was, and how disciplined he was, how professional he was, and I think it was the right decision. I think from the 2017 until a couple of months.
What about you, Ali? Like, being world number 1, obviously it was a dream, and you had a crazy amount of other achievements as well. I know you won't accept this, but I definitely believe that you're one of the legends of the game. What you've done is unbelievable. Your record at the World Championships is beyond compare for this generation. So, how do you feel personally about what you've achieved, and how do you think that plays out for Egyptian squash, kind of in the long run?
I mean, obviously, very, very satisfied with my career. Very happy, a little bit in disbelief still. When I grew older, I watched all the great players. When I was very, very young, we still didn't ever have a world number 1 or world champion hailing out of Egypt, male or female. We had Ahmed Barada, obviously, was an icon, and then World Juniors, we had plenty. Karim was one of the first. I remember when I was 8 years of age in 2000, Karim had won the World Juniors, and this is when I really started playing squash more seriously. And my ultimate goal was to become World Junior champion like Karim when I grew older, and I worked 10 years for it, and it didn't happen. But then throughout those 10 years, Shabana obviously broke the deadlock, as they say, and then I always dreamt of of being like one of them, but not even mentioned with them in the same name. And then, as Karim was saying, I was the snacky little boy that would sneak on court whenever they were playing and asking questions. And I was very curious to know how they live their lives. And obviously, they all have different characters, but there were similar traits that all of them possessed to be able to become, and how disciplined, how professional they were. And then to become like one of them, it meant the world to me. You know, I mean, it's a tricky conversation whenever I have with someone that never really achieved the world number one or world champion status. That doesn't make you a happier person. That's not the case. But obviously, it's a great, I guess, gift from God that you've worked really hard for something, and God gives you that, because so many people have worked harder than me or Karim, and they never really achieved that. It doesn't mean that we were just better, it just we were luckier in that regard, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, just for everyone who doesn't know, Ali hasn't changed in terms of asking a lot of questions. For all of you who know me, I ask way too many questions. But whenever I'm at breakfast with Ali during tournaments, I don't get a single question. So
Ask about that.
So it's actually a bit of a joke on the tour that you can never get an answer out of Ali because you can never ask him a question.
I'll tell you what, Karim and I, whenever we had a session, it would be like around an hour 15. It depends on the season or the what phase of the season it is. If it's, let's say, at 11, we agree that it's going to be at 11. We show up at 10:45, we chat for 30 minutes, we play for an hour and 15, and we chat for another hour. So the hour and 15 turns out to be 3 hours because I'm asking a lot of
And
questions.
we only chat like maybe 5 minutes about squash and 2 hours about life, projects, business projects, and everything.
Exactly.
I'm sure. Both of you are very intelligent people in your own regard, so I'm sure there are a lot of things to chat about. Ali, like when you were growing up, right, like you mentioned, you had a number of people to kind of look up to. Obviously, with Barada earlier when you were quite young, but then when you were kind of getting into the groove of playing the junior events and things, you had Shabana, you had Darwish, Mohammad Abbas, these kind of people. When you're watching these people play, and I don't want to like discount the women as well, because there was Omnia, Raneem, these people. So when you're watching these people play, they are fantastic players in their own regard. What is it that's going through your head? Are you looking at them as a starry-eyed young boy, as a fan, or are you looking at them saying that, I want to get there, and I'm trying to like analytically understand how I can beat them one day? Because I know you think a lot about the game. So was that a process that started when you were quite young, or did that kind of get inculcated in you as you grew older?
No, I never saw them as competitors and how I could beat them if I grow older. I mean, two things they really instilled in me. One is to watch them day in and day out. The one person that I watched the most growing up is Rami Ashur, because we shared the same club, the Heliopolis Club, as Karim mentioned. And as talented as he was, people discount how hardworking and how disciplined he was because of his talent, which is probably, it's not doing him a lot of justice. I saw it firsthand. He would wake up, he would be the first on court, the last to leave, and how much he used to take care of his body, even though it failed him quite a few times. But watching him is just, it's infectious. You just want to be like him and you learn from him. And then obviously as I grew older and I started going to Gezira Club for the national team, Karim was there and he was relentless and ruthless on court and in practice for no reason really. As usual. And then Shabana was a different, had some different traits, but then again the professionalism never faded, and those things I really learned. And the second thing is really the word that I really believe why Egypt is doing so well is the word belief. I mean, when I see the previous, because how much doubt we go through as athletes. When you grow older, you have some ups and downs, and through the downs, sometimes you want to walk away. And nobody has ever done it before me. Why will I be the first to do it? The fact that they've done it before us give us so much belief, and not just by seeing them, they actually talked to us. They were so generous with their advice, with their time to. I remember I shared a room with Karim when I was 19. Who does really get to share a room with a world number one at the age of 19? It's such a huge privilege to see him, how he wakes up, how he eats past at 9 in the morning, if he's got a game at noon, it's all of these things. They just, you can't help but get better.
Yeah, I think that's one of the beauties of Egyptian squash. I think in a lot of ways, you are I know obviously I didn't come to Egypt to train much when Karim was playing, but I think when you were playing, I could see that you're playing with me one day, you're playing with Tariq the next day, Gawat the next day, and these are rivals, right? These are rivals on tour, and I see this in a lot of other countries where even if you have one other rival in your age category, or just generally you're like, oh, I shouldn't play that person because they understand how I play, and it's going to be difficult. How do you, and this kind of runs through Egyptian squash as almost as part of their DNA, that you got to play against each other week in, week out, even though you are fighting it out for the biggest prizes on the PSA Squash Tour. How has that kind of happened over the years, and how is it that you are able to keep that going and not have that sense of rivalry and trying to hide what you're doing, so to say, in a lot of ways?
Well, I'll speak about my era, or my generation. I think we were lucky, we were pretty unique. Me and Shabana were number 1 and 2. We're practicing at the Zira Club probably every day. We do like the fitness session in the morning, we do some solo practice or drills at noon time, and in the afternoon we play games together. Me, him, and sometimes Rami would come, Wael, Abbas, everyone were like, and Amir Wagi was the head coach of the national team championship, national team at the moment, and we were like training almost every day. So I think that's why I think we're pretty lucky to have maybe 4 or 5 in the top 10, and we're like training every day together. I think you can't find this model anywhere in the world, so that's why I think it's one of the reasons why we're so good in squash.
Do you agree with that, Ali?
Very much so, and just seeing them doing it, it felt so natural to do it yourself. I only realized it was odd when I looked at the other sports and the other nations sometimes. Like if you think today, if Djokovic and Nadal and Murray and Federer are all situated in the same place and playing with each other, you would find it a little odd right now. But for us, it felt so natural to grow up playing with your rivals, and I guess the geography of Egypt as well helps you with that, because we're mostly situated in Cairo and some in Alexandria. So the furthest you can drive is like what, 30 minutes? Depends on Egyptian traffic, but an hour to play with whoever, and then you grow up and you have that pool of great players playing against each other every day, and then you become part of that pool as you grow older, and then you become that pool yourself, So it felt so natural. It's sad to say, but it's a little fading away now that we've got so many great players. It's getting a little edgier, and I don't blame them. It's a little tricky, right? It's with thankfully the sport doing better and there is more money poured into it. Everyone can afford now their own private coach and they can travel with them, so they've become a little bit more private. But then I think the essence is still there.
Yeah, I think that's something that I definitely saw very closely when I was in Egypt for the time that I was here, and I thought it was beautiful. And I truly believe that yes, Egypt has a lot of numbers playing. But the very fact that you're pushing each other every day really makes Egypt what Egypt is in the world of squash. And for Egypt's sake, I hope that continues. For the world's sake, I hope that's a crack somewhere. but moving on, I think you touched upon this a little bit, Karim, initially. Ali was probably the first player that he coached kind of like wholeheartedly, right? And no disrespect to you, Ali, but at the time that he took you on, you weren't the Ali Farag that everyone knows, right? You were good, there's no doubt about that, but there were others in that group who were in that same kind of vicinity of talent, maybe work ethic, whatever it is, right? What is it that you saw in Ali specifically, other than the fact that he actually came to you and asked you that, do you want to help me out, where you felt that, there is something over here that I can really work with and I can make a difference and shift the pendulum?
Yeah, I probably asked a lot of questions, so that's why I think.
So you just couldn't say no.
Something in his eyes. No, it's when he approached me, as I mentioned, like it didn't take me maybe 5 minutes to think about it, and all the way I was happy to coach him, because it's so easy to coach someone like Ali. He's got everything a coach would dream of. He's so disciplined, he's so professional, on and off court, of course. And I was happy to support him. And I think he was already a very good player. He was already top 8 or something, and I didn't do a lot of work, to reach him to become world number one. But
I
again,
agree, not true.
it was so easy, to coach someone like that. I find myself very lucky to coach him, and I think we were not like the kind of coach-player relationship, but we were more of a friend. As I said, we were talking about everything about from squash. Of course, we spoke a lot about squash during our sessions, but we used to share everything in life and our families and everything. But we're very, very close to each other, more than a coach and a player relationship.
Interesting.
Can I say it from my side? Can I
Sure.
say it?
Be very open today.
I'll be very,
Wow.
I'll be very, very
Easy
open.
on me, yeah.
Okay, I'll be very open. The way it happened, I remember the moment Karim texted me and he said, so Karim was not only the sports director, he was the sports director for 21 different sports, everything aside from football for Wadi Degla, and they had 5 branches at the time maybe, and now they're, God bless, 9 branches, and he was a super busy man. And I was number 5 in the world at the time. I remember very well, I was in Athens airport waiting for Noor to come to go on a holiday trip together after I lost to Gautier in Bellevue. I remember the moment very, very clearly. And Karim texted me and he said, Ali, I want to talk to you. And I called him and he said, Ali, would love you to join the community of champions because that's the slogan of Wadi Degla. And I said, Karim, this is very, very flattering. But if I'm being honest, I won't come for the extra money that Heliopolis is offering me because Heliopolis is so in here in my heart. I would come because I see the biggest value in Wadi Degla, and that is you. And I want to be coached by you. You will add so much to me, even you don't know. He said, Ali, honestly, I never thought about that, and I'm too busy. I wouldn't be as committed to you as a regular coach would be. And I said, Karim, I don't care about your commitment. It's just your vision and your guidance is what I'm looking for. And he said, okay, let's see, but I won't commit to a certain number of sessions a week. And I said, I'm happy with that as long as you commit to just help me. And we, as he said, we didn't think twice after that. At the beginning, he was still busy, and for the first year and a half, he was still the sports director, so he didn't have much time. And then when he did sports director on its own, that was a little easier for the both of us. And as much as Karim has added to me in my squash career and squash specifics and technique and movement and all of these things, I wouldn't say many people can offer you, but yes, but the journey that he's been through was fascinating to me, and there are so many feelings you feel as a squash player in different phases of your career. Demotivation, at the top level, you're approaching the world number 1 and you're so desperate, and all of these things, Karim has made them a lot shorter because he's been through them, without him realizing it. I remember a very, very small example. I was in Qatar, I won Qatar in 2018, and I was getting closer to becoming world number 1. And I called him right after the final, the first one I called, before my wife, before my parents, before anyone, and I said, Karim, I'm very close to becoming, and I was super excited, I'm very close to becoming world number 1. The geek I am, I had all the Excel sheets with the numbers and everything, and he talked me down immediately. Ali, I don't care about that, I care about you becoming a better squash player. If he'd kept me as excited, probably I would have been too excited to keep on playing better for the rest of the remainder of the season. So those are the little things that he had that no other coach would have had at the time. So many great coaches have the techniques and the score specifics, but no one has the journey that he had. And as he said, we're very good friends. Karim pretty much knows how much I have in my bank account. This is how close we are. So it's and the belief he just gave me. And I said at the time, Karim, why are you calling me? There are players that are ahead of me in the rankings, the Sharbagis, the Gawads, they're all ahead of me at the time. And he said, Ali, I just believe in your character, and I know we're going to do something special together. And from that point on, we never looked back. And I was, aside from him taking on the forehand side every time we play on court, I enjoyed every moment of it.
I'm pretty sure you did enjoy the forehand side. But the way you handled world number 1 the first time you got there, and then obviously you lost it, right? And then the way you handled it when you were world number 1 again and being hunted down, right? At least from afar, I felt that you handled it a bit differently, both in terms of the tournaments you chose to play, because I felt like the first time, because you knew you would be hunted down, you were looking at the points and seeing, I need to play this tournament to be protecting it. But the second time it was more I'm going to play the tournaments that I'm going to play, and I'm going to try and win them. And if in the process I stay world number one, then so be it. If not, it's not happening. But is that something that you kind of figured out for yourself, or was Karim part of that decision making? Because obviously he was world number one as well, and maybe that helped you as well in some way.
Yeah, absolutely. So when I first got world number one, I was so desperate to keep it because you don't want to be a fluke. You just want to prove that you're there for a reasonable period of time. And I was so desperate, and I used to calculate all the points and all that. And as I said, Karim talked me down quite a few times. And to be fair, I have to give credit to my parents there because he always insisted that squash and my ranking and all of that kind of stuff wouldn't define who I am as a person. It just if you play well, then and if you perform at your best, not necessarily in terms of squash, but you perform that you show up every day. This is all we care for. So world number one is not the thing. So that talked me down a little bit as well. But then the second time was a lot easier. That every time I was, and then again, this is the beauty of having someone who's been world number one himself. Before every set of tournaments, I would plan the block of tournaments that I'm going to play in the next, let's say, 3 months, and I would talk to Karim about. I would come having the pros and cons ready. He would point out a few more pros, a few more cons, and then what Karim did perfectly well is that I was always in the driver's seat. Karim was always a consultant. He was the biggest consultant, but then he would tell me, "This is how I feel. If I feel like you shouldn't play the US Open this year, and you still feel you should play it, you're the owner of the project." And that's what I now I'm helping out with Yusuf Soliman a little bit, and I called him last week and I said, "Karim, I underappreciated you. It's a lot harder. It's a lot harder than it actually is, than it actually looks like." So Karim did that well, very, very well. That he made me make my own decisions, but at the same time, he was a great guidance. So it was for me, thank God, a perfect combo for the past 8 years.
Yes, definitely a perfect combination. I think history is testament to that. So well done, both of you all. A little bit of change of track. You kind of went through some uncharted territory in terms of your squash career, going to Harvard. Obviously, there are a lot more Egyptians going to American colleges now, but it wasn't the case. There were a few, but it wasn't like in the numbers that we see now. You did that, and you went to Harvard, did what you did with Mike Way, who's obviously been a big kind of influence in your life and your career. Do you think that was like one of the best decisions of your life? And do you think you would be, forget about the squash, do you think you would be the same person you are today if you hadn't taken that leap of faith that day?
I was just discussing that with my parents the other day. I said, if we go back in time, would you send me again to school in the US? Because obviously it's the parents' decision more than the kid at the time. And they said absolutely. My dad doesn't necessarily agree that I would have been a much different person. He says it's just because time made you evolve. I believe that Harvard has made me a more mature person. I mean, more accepting of other cultures, more accepting of other people, being the very judgmental, critical person I am towards other people in a very bad way. That had calmed me down a little bit. I hope Noor wouldn't agree to that. But honestly, I mean, any person now that is thinking of going to school abroad and they come and approach me, as long as they have the right attitude for it, I always encourage them, because it's a once in a lifetime experience. And believe it or not, even though I stopped playing professional squash for 3 years, it made me a better squash player, because the better person I've become through my college years. So definitely, it was a great move. If I may say this story. Right after I was
going to say,
don't steal his thunder.
Right after my senior year, I went to the TUC and I was watching them. Every TUC I used to go and actually play, sometimes as a local spot. But as I said, Karim's school has been a very dear friend to the family and to my brother, and we were roaming around the Grand Central Station, and I said, Karim, I'm thinking of giving it a go and go professionally. What do you think? My brother and my fiancée at the time more are encouraging me. And he said, Ali, you've been away for 3 years. I think it's too hard. And now 3 years later,
there's no way you can make it to top 20. There's no way. Just enjoy Harvard.
And then 3 years later, he became my coach, and we achieved all of that together. Thank God.
And the rest is history. Karim, you're a very important cog in this Egyptian powerhouse ecosystem of squash, right? A lot of kids now are actually going into American universities. Um, just with a lot of probability, you're probably losing a few of those players who would maybe, if they didn't go, turn out to be great players themselves. How do you see this dynamic playing out, in the long run? Do you think, as a whole, it's a good thing for Egyptian squash, or you think that you're going to lose out and you need to make some changes to the way things are functioning right now?
A lot of players or students before they go to the States to study there, they ask me, what do you think, Karim, should we go to the States or just stay in Egypt and for squash reasons? The immediate answer is Ali Farag has made it, so you can make it. Now it's Ali Farag, Yusuf Ibrahim, Ali Al-Ainin, they were all in top universities and they're now all in top 10. So if someone made it, so you can make it, but it's all about your character, your discipline, your personality. So if you want to do both, it's possible. Thanks to Ali. So that's the answer to everyone who asked me this. And you can finish at top university and become a top. I know it's so hard. I thought before it's impossible, but when Ali did it and a lot of players also did it, then it's always possible.
Yeah, I think both of you all have hit the nail on the head. I think it's all about the intent, the goal, like what are you trying to achieve. You could go to the best universities, you have access to a lot of good things, which is you don't have access to in Egypt, for example. Right? And it opens your mind up in different ways, gives you support in different ways, and if you have the right intent, then you can get to where you want to get to eventually. So it's all a question of how their minds are molded in the right ways. Coming back to Ali, just back to Harvard and Mike Way, and I think both of you can answer it in your own ways. What do you think Mike Way really brought to you? Because I know through your career, he's been a big influence. There was a point in time where literally he turned up at a tournament and we did lose. And we were like, we need to get Mike Way, not landing in the city so that we have a chance.
Yeah.
So just a little bit about Mike. I'm sure you have a lot to say. Just a little bit.
Yeah, that tournament was in Chicago 2021, and I didn't do well here in the World Tour Finals, and I asked Karim to come over, but it was COVID and he couldn't, and I had to have someone in my corner, and Mike was the person at the time. If I can sum up what Mike really added to me, it would be peace of mind, I guess. And Mike is such a good, calm person, and as I said, I was not always accepting of other people crossing the line. Sometimes not accepting of me not playing well, or was not accepting of bad circumstances, even though they happen not every day, but every hour of your day, if not more. And the more accepting you are, the more equipped you are, the better equipped you are to deal with them. And I guess that's what exactly he brought to me, and not just in squash. And that's what I said. I remember knocking on his door so often during my college years for non-squash stuff, and he would always find the right way to I guess put things in the right perspective. If I'm over-argumenting the problem, then he would just put it in the right perspective, as I said. Mike is like a father figure to me, and when people say that Mike has really made a difference in my squash career, yes. But I always say that Karim was the guru of the squash. But Mike has made me, like, if I'm in a down time or a down phase of my career or in my life, if I've, God forbid, a problem with Noor, probably Mike would be my go-to person. This is what he really added to my life. Not necessarily squash. Obviously, squash is a brilliant squash coach, but more on the character side of things.
Karim, just a little bit on that. I think obviously, Mike, you, Ali, it's like one team, it's like a triple threat. So how did that relationship kind of foster? How did you all, in your own ways, because all three of you are brilliant in your own regards as people, as squash brains. Like, how did you all find the requisite spaces in this relationship to really make it work and make it very sustainable and flourish?
Sort of, as I said earlier, I was so lucky in many ways to be in Ali's team. And of course, Mike was one of the reasons. Mike was so supportive to me personally and to Ali, of course. And whenever I needed his advice about Ali, or sometimes Ali was used to be a bit down after a bad loss or something like that. I used to text him, please, Mike, help me with that. And he told me, okay, I'm going to speak to Ali and try to figure it out. So I was always supportive, even during events in the States. He used to fly to watch Ali and be with the team. And he was so supportive and was so helpful to have him with us. And of course, during the 3 years in Harvard, he did a lot to Ali. And let me take this opportunity because like in the last half an hour, we were speaking about Ali's professional career. But I just want to mention here the earlier stage of Ali. There are a lot of coaches who supported him and made him who he is right now. And one of the coaches is Ashraf Hanafi. He used to coach Ali. He used to coach me for many years. He's one of the best coaches in the world. I would say that, and I always say that. So let me say thank you to Coach Ashraf. Because we always speak about like, the end stage of the career, but there are a lot of years that are very important as the later stages. So
this is spot on. And if I am known for my movement, if I was just on a podcast with Laura Mazzaro and Ahad the other week, and they were asking me, how did you move well on court? And it's this guy right there. It's when I was younger, I used to hate it. Like after every session, he would make me walk around the court. I wasn't allowed to run, to memorize my footsteps until they become second nature in my head. And I used to do it for like what, I don't know, 2-3 years together. And I worked with him multiple stages of my career, probably cumulatively not less than 7-8 years. But I remember those 2-3 years specifically. He had me walk on court, and then the way I grip the racket to be able to be good defensively, and then how I'll place the ball to be able to anticipate the next one. All of these things he was so big on, and I was so bored when I was doing them as a young kid. And look at it today, you know, the fruits that I read, or the rewards that I read growing older. It's really thanks to him, and obviously a lot of other coaches that are not with us today. But the movement, if you want to know, you know the place now.
But I didn't teach you the right forehand.
The right forehand is you. is you. Forehand is you.
But Mr. Ashraf, I really like you, but I don't like you for this because you cost us a lot of pain. Me and a lot of other players on tour. It's absolutely frustrating playing this guy. So no, thank you for that. I think I'm just going to close with a little bit of a curveball question. I think there are a lot of things that everyone, like whether they're sports players or just avid followers of the game, will look at both of you and feel that there is so much to learn from and so much to kind of appreciate. What is that one thing that you would say that is there in you which you're like, oh, you shouldn't really go after that, like it's not the best thing that I'm good at, or that you should learn from me?
I mean, I've learned so many things from Karim as a player, but if I can learn one thing as a coach, I mean, I can learn many things.
No, like what you would not want to learn. Like something that you're not good at, like you personally, and you personally.
No, I don't understand the question.
So like, imagine you have so many good things,
okay,
but there must be something which is not good in you.
okay.
It could be squash, could be anything else.
Yeah.
What is the one thing that you would tell like a junior or whatever, that don't copy this? I know what it is for both of you, and I think and for me it's the same thing for both.
One thing comes to mind very quickly is the lack of mobility and the lack of stretching I used to do before and after. No, honestly, it's so bad, and I was told that so many times when I was younger, and by Coach Ashraf and by my fitness trainers, and I used to play it down, and it's not that important, and I felt it in my body growing older, you know. I mean, and then if you don't have the habit, it's so hard to start it as a mature player, I guess, maybe in the mid-20s, and I struggled with that big time, and that cost me to spend a lot more time on the physio table with the physios, and cost me some niggles here and there. So there is one thing: please take better care of your body.
Before I get to you, Karim, just a quick anecdote. This is US Open. Noor Dayev is playing the final, and Ali is going to be playing Mohammed and Shorbani straight after. Noor ends up being 2-love up, ends up losing the match 3-2, and I'm sitting with Ali watching Noor, and Ali is literally sitting. He's not even worn his shoes at this point. He's literally sitting until the fifth game. In the break of the fourth and the fifth, he goes and wears his shoes and comes back, and he's sitting. Right? And he's playing Mohammed, who's like, as everyone knows, like with his headphones, not talking to anyone, nothing. Right? So the other players were like having like these side bets, who's going to win the first game, and everyone is like, Ali's losing this first game 100%. There is no chance. He's literally not even walked around. And believe you me, I think this is one of the best performances that I've ever seen Ali do. 3-love. Everything was close to perfect as perfect can be. I have no idea how he did this, but it was unbelievable. But yeah, don't copy that, but if you can do what Ali did, then why not? So, yeah. Karim, what about yourself?
A bit similar to Ali, but I was too tensed. During my career, I was taking everything too serious, which was a good thing at some point, but sometimes it's a bit too much, to go every day and give 120%. Sometimes you need to relax a little bit. Sometimes you need to enjoy your time. I didn't have this enjoyment, and I think it burnt me out at the end of my career. It was a bit too much on my head, so I had to slow down the pace sometimes to be able to continue competing.
Yeah, Karim Darwish warm-up stories, anyone wants? One of the times that I lost in 20 minutes, first time was in Malaysia, and I warm up a lot. Right? A lot. And I'm warming up and all of this, and the match, let's say, is at like 5 p.m. and Karim Darwish is not even there at 4:40. Walks in at 4:45, sits down, no shoes, 5 minutes before the match.
No, I used to do this. Let go.
Yalla, let's go. And then 20 minutes. My warm-up was longer than the match. So yeah, that's probably one of the things that the juniors should probably go after, although there are like a million other things that you can learn from both these two gentlemen. And I think watching Karim as a junior and as a young up-and-coming player, I learned a lot. The forehand was always unbelievable. I still say it's the best forehand I've ever seen in the game. You just cannot see what is coming. So you might as well not just play there. that was the idea. And Ali, as a contemporary, I feel very humbled to actually say that the way you play the game, the thought process, is something that I learned from a lot. I felt like this is the way you should play the game. It's about, people say it's chess at 100 miles an hour. You actually were proof of the fact that how you play chess at 100 miles an hour. Because you were always finding spaces on the court and hitting the simplest shot to win rallies, which is a very, very difficult art to execute. And I keep telling all the juniors back home that, who's been the most consistent world number one in the last 5 years? Ali Farag. By virtue of that, who's won the most number of matches? Ali Farag. By virtue of that, who's won the most number of points? Ali Farag. Now, by virtue of that, you would like to think that the shot of the month on PSA World Tour should have Ali Farag the most number of times.
I was never featured.
Once. It was once. It was the very irritating backhand lob from the front of the court. Right? It was once. And I was like, so obviously he's not hitting the most outrageous shots to win rallies, but he's just doing it time again, and that's why he's consistent, and that's why he's so very good. So if you have to learn something from Ali, there's the movement and everything else, but learn his squash IQ and his squash play, because it is out of this planet. And thank you very much, gentlemen. You have been great. I know some people in the audience might want to pick your brains in something. If there's any left after all my questions today.
I have two questions. First of all, thank you guys. Honestly, this is such an honor and such a pleasure because it's not easy to be able to pick your brain. We all know that Ali is a great, easy, coachable person, and we all really like him for some reason. What is annoying to coach him? Is there an annoying thing to coach Ali that you're like, oh?
I'm very stubborn.
He is very stubborn. He asks a lot of questions again. I keep on saying that. That's so annoying. No, he's stubborn in a way, but he loves to learn new things. He always likes to ask about how to improve his game, even when he's world number one for so many months, and he still wants to get better. He still wants to improve some very tiny things in his game. That's why I think he stayed on top for so long.
And this is for Ali. Ali, I remember when we were in Dubai and you were just starting on the world tour, you have been the player that has won the most sportsmanship awards every single time. And I think in Dubai, it was your first year that you were playing and you won the sportsmanship award, which is awarded by the players for the players. And you're still number one, loved by the players. What does that mean to you to receive that sportsmanship award? And also, we also have Sora who also received it, but you have been the one that has received it the most.
As you said, it means so much because it's voted on by your peers. You know, it's not by the fans. It's the people that share the court with you, and you know how tough it is, how heated the moments can get on there, and we all cross the lines. But to be recognized by my peers, I mean, I guess it's testament to my parents, really. I mean, the way they raised me, the way the values that they instilled in me from a very young age. You know, I remember when I didn't behave well on court when I was younger, as we all did as young kids. It was not a fun day at home. You know, they never cared when I lost or won. Obviously, they cared if I did my best or not. But the behavior aspect was the deal that we spoke about every day and the most at home. So I'm really grateful to them. I'm grateful to my peers, and as you said, it meant so much to me every time I won that award.
Hello.
Hello.
Thank you for coming today. We really enjoyed your talks today. I have a question for Mr. Dark Prince and Mr. Fantastic. What's your name when you was playing? Okay, for Karim, for your journey to taking Ali from number 5 to number 1 during the years, do you think that it's easy to do it again, or what can you say about taking a player for top 10, 5, 6, 7, 8, and bring to number 1? Is it?
Yes, very easy, very easy.
I was going to say, if it was easy, all of us would be there.
Yeah, world champion, world number 1 every month. No, it's not. It's maybe the toughest thing you can do to have a player and you both come together to work number 1 or to world champion. It's so hard. Of course, it requires a lot of work. It requires a lot of discipline. And, but again, a coach shouldn't think about reaching to world number 1 only, because he can coach a young kid that is maybe 200 in his age group. So you think about how to improve him, how to make him a better player. It doesn't have to be world number 1 at one day, but again, like the end goal should be the best player he is, you know. But it's not, shouldn't be like if he's not world number 1, then you're not a good coach. No, a good coach is who put a lot of effort with his player and make him a better player.
Thank you for answering this. Now, Mr. Fantastic, first thank you not only for your career technically, but thank you for your bringing the ethics chapter to all the players and to all the people looking to you when the double bounce and everything. This is something you are famous to say in Abuja. Thank you for this, for all the generations that you are seeing you now. Now, you are now a coach, and I think you didn't take a break after you stopped playing. So, what happened? How you choose quickly to be a coach? talking about this, and you will continue like this, or it's just a phase?
I didn't. I mean, Yusuf did to me exactly what I did to Karim. You know, I didn't have it in mind. I wanted to take some time off with the family, and I was very, very lucky that I've been thrown at a lot of opportunities in the business world and in the squash world. I'm still in the process of deciding which one, and thankfully I was approached by many players to try and help them out. But Yusuf is not just any player. You know, the relationship I have with Yusuf he's more of a brother to me. We grew up in Heliopolis Club, and then we shared the tour together, and we shared rooms together. And you know, same as Karim, I said I'm too busy. I don't know if I can commit to a full-time coach for you. And he said I'm just keen for the guidance. And then I try to learn from all the coaches that have coached me how I can transcend my ideas to Yusuf, because the way you think is not necessarily the way some other players thinks. And then the one thing that Karim really did so well, and my coaches did well, but Karim in specific, is you need to identify the identity of that player and keep on hammering on it. Because if you keep on improving something else every day, you start forgetting who I really am. You know, with every loss, with every bad performance, I will need to work on that, and then you forget what your super strength is. And for example, in my career, a lot of people were telling me I was not attacking enough, and Karim was the most attacking player of all, and Karim never gave in to those words, and then he said, Ali, your main strength is that you move the ball around the court in a smart way. Keep it that way. If you try to be more attacking, you're going to expose yourself, and this is not your way of playing. Does not mean that we didn't work on my attacking game, and that's the exact same way I try to think with Yusuf, but it's so consuming, not time-wise, but headspace-wise, and I'm so invested in it, and I don't think I have the time or the capacity to do to some other players. So I'm enjoying it big time, but I think that would be it for now, and then I will focus more on the business side of things.
Always wishing you the best.
Thank you. Thank you.
And for Karim.
Thank you very much to you all for this is absolutely fascinating. I think one of the, picking up on Sarah's comment about sports IQ, and I think one of the most fascinating games I've watched was the Paris semi-final a couple of years ago. And for me, that distinguish between strategy and tactics, and I think that's one of the things I think that in terms of your amazing for IQ was that distinction between strategy and tactics, which you know obviously very well thought through with Karim. I'm just really interested to know, is that something that is natural and innate in terms of that ability to execute tactics and use that space? Is it something you spent a lot of time on with your coach in terms of developing, or just that whole aspect? I think is just fascinating, the aspect of the relationship and the distinctive character you brought to the sport.
Yeah, I mean, Karim is in a very good way, but a very, very simple coach. He doesn't overcomplicate things at all. Like, he never speaks about how you should open the racket face and how you should, position your body that way or this way. Like, obviously, we spoke about all of these kind of stuff, but he never overcomplicated things. But he was very keen on tactics. Like, I remember during our sessions, we'd be hitting, let's say, Bull's drive, and then all of a sudden I would tell him, oh, Diego hits that shot very well. And then it flourishes a series of questions and a series of conversation that when Diego does that, we need to do that, or when, and then sometimes it's not about my opponents, it's about myself, that Ali, this is your super strength, you need to even make that even better, or you need to add that weapon to your game, so that, because you need the tools to be able to execute your strategy and your tactics. And then before my matches, we would always exchange voice notes. I don't know why it was never really a phone call. It would be a couple of voice notes back and forth, and then Ali, remember today, this is what you need to do, and then we adapt to the conditions. Today is a little too hot, is a little too... And then sometimes when I feel overly nervous, this is when I give him a call. But tactics, we always had it clear in mind, and it goes back to my previous point that you need to have a clear identity. If you play with that player and then you need to change it because he plays that way, then who are you really? You know, it's like you get confused. And Karim had a very clear idea of how I should be. playing, and that never really confused me, because on the other hand, I was very confused. Sometimes when I lose, I have a period of not doing so well. I would start questioning the way I play. Should I? And the people around you start questioning the way you play. Some squash people, some non-squash people. Your parents, your wife, honestly, my wife was very good in that regard as well. But some people that I really trust very, very much, they would come and ask me, Ali, you're growing in age, you're not as fit, whatever it was, and you need to change. And Karim was so adamant that this is who you are, do not lose it. Yes, we can change things. When Paul came and exposed my forehand side or exposed me up high there, yes, we work on that, and you need to improve your weaknesses, but then never forget who you really are. And that's something that really got me on court, always very clear and very clear in the head how I need to execute my tactics. And that even when I was very down and out, for example, in Paris, sometimes when you're down and out, okay, let's resort to a different game plan now. No, this is who you are. Does not mean you shouldn't be adaptive enough, but this is who you really are, and we've trained on that, and he's watched me in practice matches all the time, and he's always hammered on, Ali, don't forget who you are. This is how you play. Do not over complicate things. And in matches when things got really, really heated, I always resorted on that. So I guess that helps big time to know exactly who you really are on court.
I think I'd just like to add to that a little bit, obviously playing with Ali and seeing him play a lot. I think two things that really stood out for me, and I kind of learned a lot from it, was, like he said, I think, and at that time I didn't know it was Karim as well, but it just felt like he was very, very confident and believed a lot in the fact that if he could be the best version of himself, no one else could beat him at what he did. Right? And his whole game was based around making the other person play the way he wanted to play. So if he could make the other person play his game, he was so confident that no one else could beat him. And I think that's why his squash IQ came to the fore, and he could make whoever it was. You're talking about great players like Mohammad Al-Shawagi or Mustafa Asal or Diego Arias. And, these players who are unbelievably good in the way they play. But if you watch the matches where Ali has actually been very good, it's because he has managed to make them play the way Ali Farag plays. And he's so good at what he did, or maybe still does, that even players of that caliber could not stay with him for long enough. And I think that's something that I learned a lot from. I wish I could understand that when I was younger. I think I would have been a better player moving forward. But yeah, I think that's, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but that's the way I saw it, and I think that's the way we were very, very good at.
Yeah, I just want to add something here. Like, people thinks that Ali is not talented. I would say Ali is so talented, because talent is not about hitting the neck. Rami is talented in a different way of Japan, but Ali is so talented about how to move the player, how to hold, how to put you always under pressure, to play some shots out of the box, to this lob on the backhand because of this guy again, Rashid Hafi. Again, he's so talented, but some people doesn't understand that.
Yeah, it's not so easily seen from outside the court. What he does is very apparent when you're inside the court. He's kind of one of those players who maybe does not look as flashy and as impressive from the outside.
Noor says that.
Yeah, but trust me, from the inside, he's an absolute nightmare. Like, he's very, very difficult to play. He just knows, what needs to be done, and it's almost like he had a batter. It's like the first game, it's like he's almost like, yeah, take some points, be confident, but the rallies will be long. By the end of the first game, you're like, this is getting hard. But you still somehow manage to win that first game. Then you come back in the second, you have this new lease of life, and you're like, yeah, I'm feeling really good here. And he somehow, like a leech, sticks to you to like 5-all, 6-all, and then bam, he goes and he wins that game like 11-9, and then you're like, okay, man, please take this match. I need to go home. So this is like his formula, and everyone knows it. Right? Everyone knows this is the formula, no one can do anything about it. And that just shows how good he was in the way he executed what he did. So, yeah.
Thank you. I'm blushing here. Thank you.
I was lucky and honored to help those two champions to create players into great persons. Karim with his very mental toughness, with the best forehand in the world, with listening to coaching unbelievably that sometimes we lose in the individual. If you still remember Karim in the US, in the team, an individual championship, he lose to a player in the individual, and some days later he beats him in the team event. Ali with the best movement in the world, with the cat movement, as we said, that best players who plays behind the player, best top. All of those things are really very, very good, and I was lucky to be one of the coaches and to affect them even in the small steps. I want the same question to both. Both of you have been great players, world number one, and now you have coaches. Maybe Ali is you and I was Yusuf, very longer time. So tell us what's the different feeling between a coach and a player, because this is the difference.
Yeah, for me, coaching is much harder than playing, because when you sit outside and watch your player, you don't have the control. You're not on the control seat, so you can tell him something and he does the opposite. So it's a bit sometimes it's very tough, you know. It's and he's responsible to execute the plan that you told him about, and sometimes it doesn't work, so you have to find another plan, and you have to find the plan B and sometimes plan C. So it's very hard, you know, to coach. But now, after coaching Ali, now it's I really like it. I've never seen myself coaching or put a lot of work in coaching, but after coaching Ali, now it's I really enjoy it.
Yesterday you have done one of the biggest surprise in history. So number 252, Adam Howard, who beats Paul Cole, and you have been coaching him yesterday. Tell us something about it before Ali.
That's why it's so easy to make work champions. Like this. Adam is a very, very good player. He's got the character again, because I always say the character is the most important thing for a champion. If you've got the character, then everything else is easy. So Adam got the character, and he really wants to reach the top, and he's very hungry. So I also enjoy coaching him. I've been with him for the last 4 months or so, and I think he did a great surprise.
One thing I would say about Karim, it's his one of his biggest strengths, but I will be honest, and it's one of his biggest weaknesses. If he believes in someone, it's so hard not to believe in yourself. Like, he has this way of believing in someone. Like, I watched Adam yesterday. I didn't really think that Adam would even give Paul a hard match, if I'm being honest. And then Noor told me that it's 1-1 and it's close in the third, and I started watching, and Adam was so tired that I could see it from behind the screen. But he had the belief that I was going to keep going, and I knew this is coming from his parents, from his coach. You can't have it on your own, and when Karim has that, but when your coach doesn't believe in someone, he shows it big time. That's why I'm saying. That's why I'm saying sometimes it's his weakness, and it's one of the biggest gifts anyone can give to someone else, whether it be a coach or a parent or a friend or a brother or a spouse. To believe in someone is such a great, powerful tool. As for the question, I agree with Karim. It's a lot harder as a coach, because you're in the driver's seat at the end of the day when you're playing. And then when you're sitting outside, the stress levels are equally as much when you're a player, but the adrenaline levels don't come up with it, and then so there is nothing to compensate for the stress levels. So, and then with yourself, it's just a selfish kind of thinking when you're on there and you want to win for yourself. But when you're watching someone, when I was watching Noor, I wanted her to win out of love. Now I want Yusuf to win out of love and responsibility. I feel like when he had his tactics badly, did I say something wrong? Did I approach the way in a bad way? And it's such a great learning curve. You learn so much about yourself doing it, and it's not easy, to be honest, but I'm loving it so far. I hope Yusuf is loving it as much, and I'm not giving him a hard time, but he's a brilliant guy that I'm very blessed to work with.
you're still new, Ali, coaching. So
Very, very
that-
new.
that's the
I'm very new.
Also, I hate to break it to you, Karim. You've had the honeymoon period with Ali. It's only going to get harder after this. No one's going to be as good at executing as Ali is. Any other questions from anyone? Okay, we have one more.
I have a question. China is a rising country for squash now. And I have to say, all the juniors in China take you Ali as the role model,
Thank you.
academically and also sports-wise. So if I want to have you give some advice to our Chinese junior players, how to balance academic and squash, what are you?
First and foremost, I have to say I'm so happy that China is investing more and more into squash, more effort, more money, more focus, because when China gets their head into something, then you know it's game over for the rest of the nation. So it's brilliant for our beautiful sport that China is investing more of its efforts in it. I mean, the World Games I heard was beautifully set up. So was the Shanghai event last year, and you see a lot of Chinese up and coming players as well, which is brilliant. So thank you for your efforts. As for the advice, I wish my parents were sitting in my seat and giving me the right advice, because as I always say, I'm the product of what my parents have done, right? As a 10-year-old, you don't have the right vision or the right balance when you should focus more on your squash, when you should focus more on your academics. I remember very well, sometimes my academics wouldn't be going well, and my parents wouldn't mind because they know now this is the time to focus on the squash season, and then some other times the squash wouldn't be doing so well because it's the exams period. Some other times both would be doing well, and my parents would tell me off because they see that I'm slacking off a little bit. So they always had that presence and that right attitude to find the right words at the right time, you know. And sometimes you lose and you start, and you don't, after you've sacrificed so much, not going out with your friends or not sleeping well, and then you end up not doing well in your exams and losing in your matches. And as a 10-year-old, it's not easy to take that on, right? You don't have the wisdom to, not that I have it today, but I mean even more so at 10, you know. And they had the wisdom to talk me through it, and you can hang up your racket now for a couple of months, and then let's get back to it when you have it, when you feel it. I mean, it took me 2 days and I'll be back on court, right? They had forced me, no, you have to go back to training and stuff like that. They always had the right attitude towards it, so I don't think I'm in a place to give advice. It's more my parents, and hopefully when my kids grow older, I will come and ask you for advice. Yes.
Yeah, I think that's all the time we have for now. I think we've already had Ali answering more questions than he's answered all his life. So a privilege for you. But thank you very much, Mr. Karim Darwish and Ali Farag. It's been great. Hopefully we will see you in the squash ecosystem, because you're very, very important parts of it. And thanks again, and hopefully all of you all enjoyed it.
Thank you so much.